Good morning, everyone. I'm Sheriff Larry Pierce. I'll be making a brief statement and I'll answer a few questions. On Monday, August 1st, around 10:30 a.m., Sergeant Matthew Fishman, Deputy Alexander Ramon Torres, and Corporal Andrew Logan Cox arrived at a residence on Aaron Bridge Road for service of an involuntary commitment order. After arriving and identifying themselves, the suspect inside of the home began firing on the deputies. All three deputies were struck by gunfire. After the officer down call went out, we had an incredible response from surrounding agencies, including police departments, sheriff's offices, and state agencies. To our law enforcement brothers, our dispatchers, our EMS and fire, we appreciate each and every first responder. SWAT teams made entry into the house shortly before 8 p.m. that evening and found that the suspect, 23-year-old Jordan Hamilton, was fatally wounded from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. It is a sad week for the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, as we have lost one of our own. Sergeant Matthew Fishman passed away yesterday and leaves a hole in this organization. He served with the Sheriff's Office since December of 2010 and was a reserve officer with the Mount Olive Police Department. He cared about the citizens and was doing what he loved. He leaves behind a wife and children that he deeply loved. Deputy Alexander Ramon Torres was treated in the hospital and was released yesterday. He is expected to make a full recovery. Corporal Andrew Logan Cox is being treated and is expected to be released from the hospital today, and he is expected to make a full recovery. These are three men who are simply answering the call for duty, doing their jobs. This is the danger that our men and women face in law enforcement each and every day. I ask for your continued prayers for the families, for our first responders, and for our county. I can't begin to name all of the agencies and every first responder who provided assistance and support, from our local police, our first responder partners, to other sheriff's offices, to the Highway Patrol, Red Cross, and all other agencies. We appreciate each and every one of you. We also thank the Indian Springs Volunteer Fire Department and Dudley Volunteer Fire Department for the use of their facility this past Monday and for their incredible hospitality to our first responders. I am most appreciative of the deputies and the EMS members on the scene that day, as well as the staff at Wayne UNC Hospital and Vidant Hospital for their heroic efforts to save the life of Sergeant Fishman, and the treatment of Corporal Cox and Deputy Torres. And last but not least, thanks to the individual citizens and businesses that have contributed their assistance. The SBI is now handling the investigation, and at this time I cannot comment on many of the specifics while this investigation is underway, but I will try to answer whatever questions I can at this time.
If anybody does have questions, if you just raise your hand, let us know who you're from. We'll be sure to call on you. We're going to start back here in the back. First hand up.
Sheriff Keenan Miller with WRAL, specifically the suspect, Jordan Hamilton. Had the Sheriff's Office been called out regarding Mr. Hamilton before? What was the nature of those calls, if they did happen? And additionally, the front of the home was riddled with gunshots we saw when we arrived on the property the next day. Did that happen during this situation, or had that been a previous incident?
In response to the question on Mr. Hamilton, there had been some instances in the past. There was nothing to indicate that he would be hostile at this time. We were just merely serving an IVC paper that had been taken out. As far as the other gunshot, I cannot comment on that. That is an investigation by the SBI. They'd have to answer that.
Right here in the front.
Sure. Philip Salek with the News Argus. All of us have been wanting to know who filed the IVC papers in the first place, when, and why.
Okay. It's my understanding under public information that is part of HIPAA reporting, and we're not able to release that because it may be relating to medical situation.
Right over here.
I'm Megan, I'm with Channel 12 out of New Bern. Can you give us insight onto what type of sergeant that Sergeant Fishman was for Wayne County?
Sergeant Fishman was a well-respected law enforcement officer doing his job that day that he was asked to do.
Evan Siri with Spectrum News 1. I know that Sergeant Fishman wasn't just a deputy, he was also someone who was really active in the community. I believe he had a lawn care service too and did stuff like that. Can you talk about things he did outside the sheriff's office too?
I'm not familiar with all his outside activities. I know he was a very avid church member, and in fact, he when he would send emails, he would always put a Bible verse at the bottom of his emails, and he was always an uplifting type person.
Sheriff, you said that there was no reason to believe that Hamilton would be hostile during this call. The process for this IVC delivery with the 3 deputies, is that standard, and is there any consideration of sending different types of personnel that are mental health specific responders? And if so, how does this incident play into that for you all?
Well, all of our deputies within the first couple of years of their employment are required to go to critical incident training. As far as our response, it just depends on what the shift supervisor feels is needed at the request of the deputies that may be serving those papers. I really can't answer specifically what the mentality at this time was by the shift supervisor, why he felt the need for any specific numbers of deputies.
Going forward, any changes to your IVC delivery policies?
Well, of course, everything is always under review when you have a critical incident. We'll be reviewing our policy and just to see if there's anything that we need to do differently.
Back in the back.
Yes, Samantha Coomer on ABC 11. We've seen this discussion around how police respond to mental health calls and, piggybacking on these questions, as we have those conversations nationwide, how is this incident going to further those discussions here at the department and maybe make changes in the future?
I appreciate the question. Mental health is something that all sheriff's offices, as well as all law enforcement and first responders, deal with on a daily basis. And it's something that we realize that has to be dealt with, but on the other hand, it is a problem, particularly in our detention centers right now. We are having a real problem nationwide with people that are coming to our detention facilities and trying to find treatment for our mentally ill people, but that's something we have to deal with daily.
You said that deputies had gone out to the home for Hamilton before multiple times. Are you able to specify what kind of types of calls those were?
I'm not sure if it was multiple times. I'm just saying that I know there was some situations where he has been dealt with by law enforcement, but I'm not sure how many times they've actually been to his residence. I think there was a probation violation, but that is public record that can be looked at if you'd like to research that in our clerk's office.
Back left.
Do we know how long Hamilton was dead before a SWAT team entered his home?
I do not.
Take one more question, right here.
Did your deputies have on their bulletproof vests when they went in? Was that a situation that's normal practice for you guys?
Yes, we are all issued bulletproof vests, and to the best of my knowledge, they were all wearing their vest at the time. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.